The galaxy was watching. On every screen, in every corner of the known universe. The same message played. The celestial grand run begins in 7 days. 12 racers. 1 winner. 1 galaxy-shaking prize. Billions of beings cheered. On luxury. Stations, desert moons, ice worlds, and gas colonies. Species of all shapes and colors buzzed with excitement. This race was more than just a sport. It was power. Whoever won the grand run didn't just take home glory. They earned the right to lead the Council of 7 systems. They shaped laws. They decided wars. They ruled, and for 100 years only one race had ever won. The Valkyrie. Tall. Silver-skinned beings with glowing eyes and perfect memory. Their pilots were trained from birth. Their ships were alive with biosynth tech. Fast, deadly, untouchable. This year was supposed to be no different, until Earth entered. A ship that didn't belong the docking bay at Station Helion Prime was silent as the last racer arrived. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't glowing. It didn't hover or hum or sparkle with alien tech. Instead, it clanked, hissed. It was ugly. A dark gray ship with sharp wings and burn marks across the side touched down slowly. Steam hissed from its landing gear. Its engines sputtered like old engines from a forgotten war. Aliens stared. Someone laughed from behind a chrome-blue Scary cruiser. A tall Valkyrie leaned forward. His name was Zurith Kale, and he was the 5-time champion. The undefeated legend. He narrowed his glowing eyes at the human ship and sneered. "Is this a joke?" said no one answered. The ship's door opened. The ramp dropped with a metallic. Clanged and out walked Jackson Ward, the human he. Wore a worn black jacket with the Earth patch on one shoulder and a cracked helmet in his hand. His face was calm, cold, focused. He looked nothing like the other racers. No armor, no glowing suit, no floating drones around him. Just an old flight suit and steel in his eyes as he stepped into the light. Station speakers announced. Contestant 12 confirmed. Earth representative. A chip class. Chip class. Type R. Ex-human fighter. A roar of laughter broke out across. The station, Earth. Fighter class. In a race. Even the bots looked confused. Zurith walked toward him, flanked by 2 other Valkyrie racers. "You lost?" Zurith said. "The War Museum is on Deck 9. Jackson didn't smile. He didn't blink. "I'm right where I belong." Zurith leaned in closer. "This is not your kind of game, Deathworlder. You don't belong here. No humans allowed." Jackson stared at him for a long second. Then he said, "You should have left that rule in the contract," and walked away. Whispers in the shadows in the observation deck above. 2 alien commentators hovered beside a hollow board filled with data. "He's human," said the blue-skinned one. "Why did Earth even send him?" "Unknown," replied the other. "Earth has no record of racing. No history. No wins. No racers." They watched Jackson enter the hangar assigned to him. Dark room, small and empty. But Jackson wasn't alone. He knelt beside a control panel and whispered, "Map, defeat. Boot up." A small blue light blinked from the corner. A deep, calm voice replied, "Online. Welcome back, Pilot Ward. Status. System 71% functional. Navigation AI fully operational. Race patterns downloaded. Competitor data acquired." Jackson sat back and looked at a screen that flickered to life. 12 tracks. Dozens of known routes. Thousands of obstacles, but one goal. Win? Why he was here years ago? Jackson had been one of Earth's best fighter pilots. Fast, smart, fearless, but his last mission wasn't in space, it was in politics. His brother Eli Ward had been sent as a diplomat to the Valkyrie. He wanted peace. He wanted unity. He got betrayal. Eli's ship was destroyed in a training accident. During a Valkyrie race demonstration, no charges, no investigation, just silence. Jackson knew the truth, and he built Map, defeat to prove it, not just a racing AI. It was Earth's best battle sim engine. hidden inside an old fighter, could read every possible move, every path, every failure, and find victory in the middle of chaos. But Jackson wasn't here to expose the Valkyrie. He was here to beat them on their own field, in front of the galaxy, not with weapons, not with war, but with the one thing aliens never expected humans to: use strategy. Racers prepare elsewhere on the station. The other racers were busy. The Kreven swarm pilot used 10 small drones to rebuild his ship every 5 minutes. The Siltari glide rider soaked in zero-gravity water. Meditating with her ship's AI, the Valkyrie pilots sat in a sealed room with neural uplinks, their minds already syncing with their bioships. But Jackson, he was tightening bolts, rewiring engines, updating a handwritten notebook, old school, manual, human, and map. Defeat watched everything. Prediction: top 3 finishes possible. Victory odds 12.7%. Jackson smirked. Good, he said. Let's make them lower. A warning the night before the qualifier lap, a small drone floated into Jackson's room. It carried a message. He opened the data file. A hologram appeared. Zeroth's face. You don't belong here, he said. Leave now, or be erased during the run. There are no rules once we're in the lanes. The message ended. Map: defeats. Voice echoed quietly. Threat detected. Recommend precautionary countermeasures. No, Jackson said. Let them come. Qualifier day. The galaxy watched as 12 ships lined up at the edge of the asteroid ring, the first test before the real race. Broadcasters shouted, "And here comes the human, in a ship older than my grandmother." Crowds cheered.
Right.
Also waited for disaster. Zereth's ship shimmered with silver wings. Others glowed, hovered, floated. Jackson's ship rattled as it powered up. Steam burst from its vents. It looked like it might fall apart at launch. A signal counted down. 3, 2, go. The ships shot forward like lightning. Except one. Jackson's ship stalled. The crowd roared with laughter. But inside the cockpit, Jackson's fingers moved fast. Map. Defeat lit up. Rerouting. Ignition restart. Boost in 3, 2. His ship burst forward, late but fast. He hit the side of the asteroid field and dove into a dangerous, narrow gap that no other ship even tried to enter. The commentators screamed, "Is he crazy? That path hasn't been cleared in years." Jackson didn't slow. Rocks flew past. Metal scraped. Flames burst from the rear. But he came out. Head of 5 ships, the crowd went silent. Zeroth's smile. Vanished Jax crossed the finish line. 6th place. Not bad for someone who didn't belong. The galaxy takes notice. In the hours after the qualifier, social feeds exploded. Human survives death path. Dark horse from Earthshock's crowd. Who is Jackson Ward? Some laughed. Some were curious, but a few were scared. In a private chamber far from the station, a Valkyrie official whispered to his commander, "This human must not reach the final lap. Use any method." A quiet room, a loud memory. The lights were dim inside Jackson's chamber. Tools and metal parts lay scattered on the table. Map Defeat's core glowed faint blue in the corner. But Jackson wasn't working. He was staring at a photo. 2 smiling brothers. Younger days, Earth behind them, fighter jets above. One wore medals, the other held a peace flag. That was years ago. Now, one of them was gone. Eli Jackson whispered, "They think it was an accident. They don't know what I saw." Map Defeat answered softly, "Your brother's final transmission shows a pulse disruption not consistent with engine failure." Source: external, confirmed as artificial. Jackson nodded. And Zerath was on the ship that day watching the test, smiling. He clenched his fist. The galaxy thought this was just a race. But for Jackson, that was the start of revenge. Backflash. Earth's final plea 5 years ago. Earth sent a delegation to the Valkyrie. Eli Ward, a trained diplomat and Jackson's older brother, was chosen to speak for humanity. The plan was simple. Join the Interstellar Council through peaceful trade. Show Earth's strength through cooperation, not war. The Valkyrie smiled and welcomed them, but it was a lie. During a tour of their race training facility, Eli was invited to fly in a prototype ship. Zurith watched from above. The ship exploded mid-flight. Valkyrie called it pilot error. No investigation followed. The humans were sent home in silence. And Earth's name was quietly removed from the Council's application list. The choice to enter too. Years later, Jackson stood before a hidden Earth command team. Military, scientists, and engineers from Earth's secret project, Death-Res Override. Why race? One officer asked. Why not strike back with force? Because, Jackson said, force would start a war. He pointed to a screen showing the Celestial Grand Run. If I win this, I take the Valkyrie's power away in front of everyone. I don't need bombs. It's just a cockpit, an old ship. And map, defeat. He turned to leave. No one stopped him. Back to now? The talk of the station after, his wild qualifier lap. Jackson became the buzz of the galaxy. Earth's death pilot stuns with 6th place finish. Valkyrie's smile disappears. Will the humans survive the next round? In the dining hall, alien racers whispered. One insectoid pilot from the Krellian swarm clicked, "He's dangerous." Another racer from the Nellery Moonstone cores sipped glowing blue liquid and muttered, "Or he's just lucky." But the Valkyrie were silent. They didn't like surprises. And Jackson was one big surprise. An unwelcome visit that night. Jackson was working alone in his hangar. Sparks flew as he repaired the stabilizer. Suddenly, the lights flickered. He turned. 3 tall figures stood in the shadows. Not racers, not officials. Valkyrie guards. They stepped forward slowly. "You crossed a line," one said. "You will. Leave the race. Now." Jackson wiped his hands and stood up. "You think you're scary?" he asked. "We don't scare," the guard replied. "We erase." One reached for a weapon. "Warning map defeat," said. Lethal intent detected. Jackson moved first. He slammed a wrench into the guard's wrist. The weapon clattered. He ducked and rolled behind a crate. A small EMP charge sparked to life in his hand. He threw it. The lights exploded when they turned back on. The guards were on the floor stunned, and Jackson was gone. A message to the galaxy the next morning. Jackson stood in front of a private comm station. A camera hovered in front of him. "Start broadcast," he said. He looked into the lens, calm and direct. "To everyone watching, I didn't come here by accident. I came here because Earth was ignored, because my brother died in a race like this. And no one cared. Now I'm here, and I'm not leaving." He uploaded the video in less than an hour. It had 4 billion views. Valkyrie Panashuroth watched the broadcast in silence. His jaw clenched. "He's making this personal," said one of the race sponsors. "It was always personal," Zurith growled. Earth was supposed to be quiet, weak. Now they're shouting across the stars. He looked at his crew. "Make. Sure, he doesn't finish the next round. Map. Defeats hidden power back in the hangar." Jackson sat in the cockpit. Map: defeat projected a 3D model of the next course. Blackdrift Canyon, a twisting storm-filled asteroid tunnel. Survival odds, 38%. Victory path available, Route Omega 7. "What's the risk?" Jackson asked. 95% chance of full system blackout, 12% chance of engine failure, 1.3% chance of core meltdown. Jackson smirked. "Sounds perfect." Meeting an unlikely friend while Jackson was reviewing course data, someone knocked on the hangar door. It slid open. A young alien girl stood there, green-skinned, with glowing eyes and cybernetic legs. "Are you really from Earth?" she asked. Jax, raised an eyebrow. "Who's asking?" "I'm Lyra. My family works sanitation on this station. I watched your qualifier. It was awesome." He nodded slowly. "Thanks." She looked around at the old tools, the scratched ship, the broken chair. "You're the only racer without a crew," he shrugged. "I'm used to being alone." She paused. "Well, I can fix wiring. And I'm small. I fit in places adults can't." He smiled slightly for the first time. You just volunteered? Preparation for the next race, Lyra crawled into panels and reconnected cables. Map defeat guided her through repairs. Jackson rebalanced the engine mass. The ship was old, but now it was alive. The night before the race, Jackson stood outside the ship, staring at the stars. You think we have a real shot? He asked. Yes, Map, Defeat replied, because the Valkyrie think they've already won. He nodded. Double quotes. Good. That's how they fall. The race they didn't expect the next course was brutal. Drift Canyon was a legend. A tight maze of spinning rocks and unstable energy fields. The broadcast voice thundered across the station. Welcome to round 2. 9 pilots remain. Only 5 will finish. The crowd watched as the racers lined up. Zurith's ship glowed like a predator. Jackson's ship looked the same, but it was. This time, it was ready. Race begins in 3, 2, 1. Launch. Ships flew forward. Jackson didn't stall this time. He shot into the canyon like a bullet. Zurith chased. Him Map. Defeat whispered predictions. Sharp turn in 3 seconds. Enemy heat flare incoming. Dodge left now. Jackson followed every command but added his own wild moves. He twisted through a cyclone of rocks. Cutting corners no one dared touch. Zurith tried to follow, but then Jackson dropped an old trick. He turned off his lights and coasted in the canyon. Shadow, invisible Zalroth, flew right past him. One message. One goal. Jackson emerged from the canyon, second place crowd. Shocked. Officials. Stunned. Vow. Silent. He parked his ship, climbed out, and looked into the nearest camera. Dela. That one was for you? The calm before the storm, the stars above Station Hellion Prime looked peaceful. But inside, the air was tense. Only 5 racers had survived the brutal canyon run. Most ships were wrecked. Some racers were in medical pods. Others were simply missing. Jackson. Ward stood by his ship, checking the patched engines. His hands were steady, but his mind was sharp. He wasn't surprised by what was coming. Map: Defeat's warning, inside the cockpit. A soft blue glow blinked from Map. Defeat's core. Incoming data stream from control tower. Next race, path uploaded. Jackson leaned forward as the map loaded. The next race wasn't on a track. It was a free-form space sprint from the outer ring of the planet. Nizen 4 to the gravity well of Star. Bridge Delta, one of the most dangerous paths in the quadrant. Asteroids, pirate zones, radiation spikes. Black holes nearby, no checkpoints, just survival. Estimated survival odds, 27% Map. Defeat, said Jax, smirked. So you're saying there's a chance? The race is rigged in a high-security room deep in the Valkyrie compound. Zeroth stood before the race master. This course will kill the human, Zeroth said coldly. The master? An older Valkyrie? With gold-rich armor nodded. He is resourceful. He's a threat, Zeroth snapped. This isn't just a race anymore. He's exposing us. The race master tapped a glowing console. A secret order was sent. Deploy the siphon mines near. Sector X3. Time them for when Earth's ship arrives. Meanwhile, in the shadows, back in the human hangar, Lyra sat cross-legged, watching race footage. She paused a clip of Zeroth's ship trailing Jackson too closely in the last lap. He's cheating, she said. Jackson glanced at the screen. I know, but you're not reporting him. No, he said. I'm not here to complain. Picked up a wrench and slid under the engine panel. I'm here to end him where the galaxy can see. Crowds want more. The galaxy couldn't stop watching. Across 1,000 worlds, Jackson's face was on screens. Human pilot enters Final 5. Earth's Death Worlder shocks the elite. Will he survive the next round? Alien kids wore black jackets like Jackson's. Merch stores sold fake Map, Defeat visors. His old ship design was now a trending logo on space-threads. The galaxy loved an underdog, and the Mooch Valkyrie hated it. Launch data. 5 remaining ships hovered at the edge of the Nisan system. No lanes. Just a blinking start beacon. An empty space ahead. A deep voice spoke across the channel. Final 5. You may launch when ready. First, to reach Starbridge Delta wins the round. No rules. Xurath's ship pulsed with red energy. The other 3 racers flanked out, forming a loose diamond. Jackson's ship floated behind them last, but inside the cockpit, Jackson wasn't. Worried, Defeat projected every racer's likely path. A web of possible routes danced across his screen. Xurath's most likely ambush point. Sector X3, it said. Siphon mines already detected, Lyra added over the com. I traced a secret launch signal. They're not even hiding it. Jackson adjusted the ship's left-wing thrusters. Then let's fly straight through hell. The launch a soft pulse of light and the race began. The ships burst forward like comets. Jackson was last off the line. By design, Defeat called out updates. Radiation field ahead in 2 minutes. Pirate ships detected on the far edge. Recommend drift dive into Zone Echo for stealth passage. Jackson turned sharply and dropped altitude, diving beneath a meteor trail. The ship shook from the force but held. Enemy signal detected. Valkyrie energy mines. Ambush at Sector X3AS predicted. Xurath had left a surprise. 3 siphon mines floated in a line, hidden in the asteroid debris. If Jackson passed through them, they'd drain his ship's power, leaving him dead. In space, but Defeat had a trick, activating Pulse Echo, redirecting ship signature with reverse magnet stream. Jackson's ship disappeared from sensors for 3 seconds, enough time to glide past the mines inches away. Xurath, watching from ahead, hissed in frustration. He's supposed to be gone by now. The mid-race turned the course bent through. A twin-star orbit. Temperatures surged. One of the other racers, a Kaltari with plasma wings, overheated and spiraled into a star flare. 4 racers left. Jackson watched the data feed. Now I'm 4th. Defeat pinged again. Xurath is slowing down. He's waiting for you. I was hoping for that, Jackson muttered. Face to face in space as Jackson passed a spinning chunk of moon rock. Xurath's ship appeared in front of him, blocking. The path to come opened. You should have walked away, Xurath growled. Jackson stared ahead, unmoved. You should have made sure I couldn't fly. Xurath fired a non-lethal EMP blast, an illegal move. But Jackson's ship flared backward, dodging with a gravity dive, a move no one used anymore because it crushed most pilots inside their cockpit. But Jackson held Defeat screamed. Greater than warning heart rate spike, G-force maxed. He gritted his teeth. Just hold together. It's just one more boost. Hit the rear thrusters. A manual burst override Earth Tech had designed decades ago. The ship exploded forward, spinning through a dead satellite field and bursting into clear space. Ahead. Starbridge Delta. Final stretch to racers. Remained ahead. 1, a quiet Siltari glide pilot, slowed to avoid the collapsing ring field near the finish. The other crashed into debris. Jackson pushed forward. Defeat gave. A final ping. Optimal entry vector calculated. Victory in 18 seconds. If you trust it? I trust you, Jackson said. He cut all control systems, let the ship float, and just at the right moment he punched the landing thrusters. The ship slid into the beam gate. Finish registered. Second, crowds across the galaxy exploded in cheers. Jax wasn't supposed to survive. He almost won. But Earth is still last, though Jackson came in second. The final score wasn't kind. Points were assigned across 3 rounds. Valkyrie still led. Earth was now 5th last place. It's because the scoring system favored elite teams and sponsorship boosts. The leaderboard flashed. First. Valkyrie 2nd, Nilari 3rd, Sultari 4th, Kreven 5th. Earthlyra frowned. That's rigged. Jackson nodded, but they can't ignore me much longer. He stared at the camera feed that broadcast across every star system. They want Earth to lose, but they forgot one thing. He looked into the lens. We don't care about their points. We're racing to break the system. A dangerous celebration. Jackson Ward sat. alone at a corner table in the observation lounge of Station Hellion Prime. All around him, alien racers and guests celebrated, music blasted, glasses clinked, lights flashed. But his table was silent. He didn't care about the noise. He watched the leaderboard above the bar Earth, still in last place, but not for long. Lyra's warning back in their hangar. Lyra was working late. She had rewired half the ship's lower panel, tuning the reactor so it could take extra heat next round. Suddenly, her small tablet buzzed. A security alert. Unauthorized movement. She said, eyes narrowing. She pulled up the camera. Two unknown. Figures tall, thin, and smooth, like mercury, were scanning the ship from the shadows. Lyra gasped. They're Valkyrie. She opened the cum. Jackson, we've got a problem. They came to break more than rules. Jackson ran through the hallways. By the time he reached the hangar, it was too late. His ship had been opened. Panels were pulled apart. Wires cut. The main coolant pipe had a silent, nearly invisible leak. The Valkyrie were gone. Lyra stood frozen, holding a wrench. I couldn't stop them, she whispered. Jackson didn't speak for a long time. Then he crouched down, inspecting. The cuts. Look here, he said. It's not just sabotage. It's a trap. They want the ship to overheat and explode during the next race. No one to trust Jackson filed a report with race officials. But their answer came back cold. Insufficient proof. No cameras recorded the intruders. No DNA trace left behind. No action will be taken. He slammed his fist on the desk. They're helping the Valkyrie. Lyra looked scared. What do we do? Jackson's voice dropped. We outsmart them. That's what humans do best. Map. Defeat's counterplan back at the ship. Jackson activated map. Defeat. Damage assessment complete, it said. Sabotage detected in coolant system, ignition panel, and signal relay. Can we fly? Yes. With a 61% chance of catastrophic failure, Jackson frowned. Too high. Recommend decoy system. He nodded. Together, he and Lyra worked through the night. They installed false wires, extra coolant tanks hidden beneath the hull, and a mirror signal path to confuse any outside scan. They even left the sabotage parts untouched, so the Valkyrie would think their plan was working. It was a trap for the trap. Meanwhile, in the enemy camp, Sorth stood before a giant hologram of Jackson's ship. He'll never finish the next round, one of his crew said. The sabotage will activate mid-flight. Zurith didn't smile. He just stared. He's clever, he muttered. We underestimated Earth once. Not again. He sent a final order. If he survives, send the drones. The quiet before the race the next morning, Jackson sat with his eyes closed in the cockpit. Lyra handed him a protein bar. You ever scared? She asked. He nodded. Always. Then why do you keep going? He looked at her, serious and calm, because I already lost what mattered. Now I'm here to make sure no one else does. Map, Defeat interrupted. Racetrack uploaded. Challenge, the Obsidian Ring. Jackson looked at the map. One massive loop around a dying planet with crumbling debris fields, black lightning storms, and zero visibility tunnels. Perfect, he said. Let's do this. The race begins. 5 racers lined up inside a launch chamber orbiting the dying world. The Obsidian Ring glowed faint red as cracks split its surface. Launch in 3, 2, 1. Forward, it immediately shook and groaned, not because of flight errors, but because of the damage left behind. Defeat spoke quickly, coolant levels spiking. Activating emergency reroute. Switch to backup flowline. Jackson flipped the switch. False data flowed through the sabotaged system, just as planned. The ship stabilized. Zuroth's team, watching from their hidden command feed, saw the spike. He's finished, one said. But then, ship kept flying. Ambush halfway through the loop, Jackson entered the tunnel zone, a dark stretch of floating metal with no light and deadly magnetic storms. Defeat pinged. Enemy drones approaching. 7 total. High-speed intercept pattern. Here we go, Jackson muttered suddenly. The shadows lit up with enemy fire. Zurith had broken the rules again and sent attack drones to take him out mid-race. They fired shock rounds. Ripping holes through the tunnel walls, Jackson rolled left, dived under 2 beams, and launched a flare mine behind him. 2 drones exploded. 5 remaining. Using the race against them, Jackson remembered a sharp bend in the tunnel. It's too tight for normal ships. He hit the thrusters and dived. Defeat projected a narrow path between 2 spinning rock panels. No ship has survived this path and recorded. History good, Jackson said. Then they won't expect it. He dove. The drones followed. But the tight turn crushed one into the wall. Another got stuck in a rotating shaft. Only 3 remained, finishing the ambush Lyra's surprise system. Came online, a pulse jammer hidden in the wing. Activating now, she said. Overcomes a burst of electric noise shot backward. The 3 drones froze, spun out, and smashed into the debris field. Defeat confirmed, pursuit ended. No enemy signals detected, Jackson grinned. They really don't know how humans fight. Finish line again, Jackson broke. Out of the tunnel and saw the glowing finish ring ahead. He passed through at top speed, this time 3rd place, not 1st. Not last, but still standing, still flying, still alive. The aftermath, the race results were announced. Zeroth came in 2nd, another pilot won. But whispers had begun. Earth survived the sabotage. Valkyrie might be cheating. Jackson. Ward is still in. Even other racers began to take notice. One approached him after the race, a silent Nilarai pilot who nodded once and handed him a chip. Jackson looked down. The chip had recorded evidence, a secret drone control signal. From Zuroff's team, Proof.Lyra stared at it. This could get them disqualified. Jackson pocketed the chip. Not yet, he said. Let them think they're still winning. 1 step closer later that night, Jackson stood in front of the broken pieces of his ship. Defeat. Calculated upgrades. Lyra tuned the new systems, but Jackson looked into the stars. They tried to break us, he said quietly, but all they did was show me their fear. The message from the shadows. Jackson sat in the corner of the workshop, watching the chip that had just changed everything. It was given to him by a Nilari racer, proof that the Valkyrie had sent attack drones during the last race. Lyra looked at him. We can expose them now. Jackson shook his head slowly. No, let them keep cheating. Want the galaxy to see who they really are. He slid the chip into map. Defeat system. Recording stored. If needed, it will be released. The race. Of smoke and mirrors, the next track was called the Spectral Gauntlet, a race through a zone filled with false holograms. Energy illusions and mirror walls. Most racers avoided tricks. They relied on brute speed. But Jackson smiled when he saw the course map. This race wasn't made for muscle, he said. It was made for minds. Alien eyes everywhere as the racers prepared. Whispers moved through the crowd. Earth is rising. Jackson. Ward cannot be killed. His AI outsmarts everything. But the Valkyrie weren't impressed. Zuroth stood with his cold stare and sharp voice. He's a trickster, he said. Let's see how well his tricks work when the walls close in. He turned to one of his officers. Make sure he never reaches the 3rd sector. Ghosts in the track at launch, Jackson's ship shot forward, but instead of chasing the lead pack, he pulled back slightly. Lyra looked confused. Why are we slowing? Let the big fish swim into the net, Jackson said calmly. Up ahead, the Valkyrie racer, a ship called Bloodfang, activated a hidden code that projected false paths across the mirrors. Racers began to crash, spin, and lose direction. Only Zuroth's allies knew the true path. But Jackson knew better. Defeat scanned the environment. Multiple false signatures detected. Recommend vector grid scanning. Jackson nodded. Run pulsewave alpha. Ship fired a micropulse that lit up the real structures for half a second, Enough, he turned sharply and slipped through the only real tunnel. The others chased illusions. Bloodfang's pilot panicked. How did he know? A human trick from a past where Jackson smiled as he flew. This is just like the training field back on Mars, he said to Lyra. Mere maze drills. My instructor used to say, he paused, remembering. Shh, if you trust what you see, you're already dead. The Valkyrie had relied on what was in front of them. Jackson trusted what couldn't be seen. That was the human edge. Sector 3, the real trap has predicted. A new threat appeared. Zurith had placed interference beacons in Sector 3. They messed with AI sensors and autopilot systems. Any ship entering would lose control. But Jackson had prepared map:"defeat. Dimmed its primary sensors and switched to manual mapping. Old school mode, Lyra said, watching numbers scroll across the screen. Manual nav activated, the AI said, following gyroscope flight pattern, while other ships spun out or crashed into energy nets. Jackson's ship glided perfectly between the chaos. Zurith loses control watching from his private deck. Zurith crushed a glass with his bare hand. This is impossible, he growled. He's not better, one officer whispered. Zurith turned. No, he's smarter, and that is worse. A message from Earth after the race, where Jackson came in. Second place. A private message came in from Earth Command. The screen lit up with the face of a woman in a sharp uniform. Captain Jackson Ward. Earth has noticed your progress. Keep pushing. Keep climbing. The galaxy is watching now, and so are we. He nodded, but didn't smile. I'm not racing for the medals, he said. I'm racing to end something. Valkyrie take the gloves off later that night, in the darkness of an empty corridor. Zurith met with a shadowy alien known only as the Broker. I want him out of the race, Zurith said. The Broker replied, It will cost you Zuriths. Eyes glowed. I'll pay anything. A plan was forming, not sabotage, but something far worse. Something ancient. Lyra's doubts grow in their hangar. Lyra looked at Jackson. You're playing a dangerous game, she said. They'll come at us harder. He nodded. That's what I want. Why? He looked at her, quiet for a moment. Because if I beat them while they cheat, then no one will ever fear them again. The galaxy starts to. Seracers from different species began to visit Jackson. Small. Nods, short messages, whispers like, that was brilliant. We've needed someone like you. They've ruled for too long. The Valkyrie had dominated for decades through fear. Now, for the first time, fear was leaving the others and starting to take root in them. The end of the part, a terrible discovery as Lyra ran a routine scan. She found something hidden deep in the race systems, a new challenge. But this one wasn't part of the official. Schedule.jxon, read the code. They're planning a death race. No rules, no rescues. Lyra looked at him, afraid. What do we do? He turned to her with the fire of war in his eyes. We enter. We end them. Secret broadcast. A dark signal spread across the galaxy. It wasn't sent on public channels. Only the rich, the cruel, and the powerful received it. The Valkyrie present. The Crimson Spiral. One night, one track, one survivor. This was no longer a sport. This was a blood spectacle. Jackson receives the invite in his hangar. Jackson was working on map. Defeat when a red envelope icon blinked on his screen. Lyra opened it, her face turned pale. They want you in a death race. No rules, no penalties. The track is outside all legal systems. Jackson's jaw tightened. They're done playing. Why join a trap? Lyra paced the floor. Can't go, they want to kill you. Jackson looked at her calmly. I know. Then why go? He placed a data chip in map. Defeat. Because I won't run. If I say no, they'll make it look like I'm scared. I get to show them what a human can really do. Arrival at the Crimson Spiral. The Crimson Spiral wasn't on any chart. It floated inside a dying starfield where radiation. Storms crackled and broken, ships drifted. Only 7 racers were invited. 6 were known killers. The 7th was Jackson. Their ships floated like hungry beasts. Shalroth watched from a high orbit. surrounded by spectators paying millions to see Jackson die. This will be the end of Earth's little hero. Before the launch, a few minutes before launch, Lyra. Patched into Jackson's comes? Are you sure? These aren't racers. They're murderers. Jackson smiled slightly. Good. So am I. The race begins. There was no countdown. No flag, just an explosion behind the starting line, and the ships launched like demons. Lasers flared, engines screamed. The track twisted through narrow tunnels, floating mines, and black hole slingshots. Within 2 minutes, one ship exploded. Then, another. Jackson flew straight into chaos. No honor among killers. 2 alien racers teamed up. They trapped Jackson between gravity barriers, trying to crush him, surrender and eject. One yelled, but Jackson didn't slow down. Instead, he angled his ship just right and used one of them as a slingshot, slamming the other into an asteroid. Both enemies were gone. Only 4 remained. Zereth's secret weapon watching from above. Zereth turned to his officer. Release the Predator. Officer hesitated. That violates the do it. From the depths of space, a Valkyrie war drone launched painted black. Nearly invisible. It wasn't part of the race. Its only mission. Kill Jackson Ward map, defeat. Reaximity. Defeat spoke in a low tone. Unmarked threat approaching. Not a racer. Not bound by rules. Jackson gritted his teeth. Of course it's not. He flipped a hidden switch under his console. Emergency Protocol Alpha. Activate Earth Tech. Phantom Drive. Lyra gasped back at base. That's restricted tech. So is assassination. Jackson muttered. The Phantom Drive didn't make the ship faster. It made it disappear from all sensors for 8 seconds. In that time, Jackson launched a flare, dove under an ice asteroid, and changed his trajectory. The drone struck the flare. Boom. Gone. Zuyuroth slammed the table. Final duel only. One ship remained, now a 4-winged Valkyrie, ace named Draken. His ship, Scorchwind, was loaded with plasma spikes and rail mines. He came up beside Jackson. End of the line. Human. Jackson didn't answer. He just smiled. And tapped the map of defeat control. 1,000 red lines lit up. Hidden paths, blind zones, and shortcuts. All from previous scans? You memorized the track? Draken asked, stunned. Jaxo turned his ship into a tight spin. No, I rewrote. The Shocking and Dingdraken tried to follow. Too late. Jackson's ship disappeared behind an ion ridge and appeared above Draken, upside down, and dropped an EMP. Burst that shut his systems down. Scorchwind spiraled out and vanished in 2. The Black Jackson alone crossed the finish ring. Silence, then chaos. The crowd. The viewers, the galaxy, stunned. A human won the impossible race. Aftermath back on his ship, Jackson didn't celebrate. He looked at the camera and sent a message to all systems. This wasn't racing, this was murder. I won't let it happen again. I don't race for glory. I race to end monsters. Zereth's rage in his throne room. Zereth shattered his glass screen. He's not just winning. He's turning the galaxy against us. Word spreads fast. Jackson's shocking win at the Crimson. Spiral spread like wildfire. Clips of his moves, his victory, his speech, they went viral across thousands of systems. The title repeated everywhere. Humane wins death race, exposes Valkyrie corruption. And for the first time in decades, people started to question the system. The next race? Daggerloop. The next race was held at Daggerloop, a brutal asteroid track controlled by the Valkyrie Syndicate. But this time, something was different. Alien racers, once silent and afraid, started talking back. One by one, they approached Jackson in the prep bay. We watched what you did. We're not slaves. If you race, we'll race with you. Valkyrie warning. Zareth was watching everything. From his floating fortress, he broadcast a public message. This is your final warning. Any racer who sides with the human will be disqualified, arrested, or destroyed. He smiled cruelly. The galaxy belongs to the strong. Not to Earth, not to rebels. Team Human, the racers, didn't care. By the time the race started, 3 racers flew with Jackson. Trell, a spider-limbed pilot from Nexus 9 Barra. A former Valkyrie slave turned rebel Ixie. A shapeshifter who flew a bioship made of living tissue. They had nothing in common, except one thing. They believed change was possible. Dagger loop. Pure chaos. The race began under heavy patrol. Drones circled the track. Valkyrie snipers hid in orbit. Zurith had only one goal: make an example of the rebels, but the race didn't go as planned. Jaxo and his new team didn't just fly the track. They hacked it. Map colon, defeat unleashed. Lyra. Watching from Earth's station, activated map, defeats hidden mode. It scanned the race environment and unlocked control codes. Uploading pressure spike maps. Override ready. Jackson grinned. Let's shake the cage. Trap turned upside down as they flew through the second loop. Hidden gravity wells activated, but instead of trapping the rebels, they flung Valkyrie. Racers into walls. Snipers fired, but the rebel ships had modified shields. We didn't come to survive, Trell said. We came to expose. Broadcasting the truth, Xe used his bioship to tap into the main drone network. He hijacked the race feed and streamed a secret video across the galaxy.
Ow.
These races are murder traps. Zeroth kills those who disobey. The footage showed Valkyrie drones, sabotaging tracks, spying, killing billions, watched in real time. The truth was out. Zeroth's panic in his fortress. Zeroth shouted orders. Shut down the broadcast, destroy every rebel ship. Was too late. Even Valkyrie guards began hesitating. Their control was slipping. Racers unite as the race neared its end. More racers joined the rebellion mid-track. They refused to shoot, refused to follow orders. Some even formed a wall behind Jackson's team, shielding them from attacks. It wasn't just a race now. It was a revolution on engines. End of the race. Jackson didn't cross the finish line first. Bira did. And that was the point. He had inspired others to rise. And when they reached the end, the crowd, even in Valkyrie territories, cheered. The after-race riot on the ground. Fans rioted. They tore down Valkyrie banners, destroyed betting stations. One voice shouted louder than the rest. We race for freedom now. Zeroth's next move back at his fortress. Zurith stood in the dark. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he turned to his officers. No more games. It's time for war. Zurith breaks the mask for years. Zurith ruled through fear, but behind a mask of tradition and honor. Now, it's that mask cracked. He stood before the Valkyrie High Council, armor black, voice cold. Enough of races, enough of cameras. Virus is spreading. I will burn it out. The council hesitated. The public, Zurith slammed his fist. The public will watch them burn. Target, the rebel world of Kalaskalos, was a small mining planet, poor, dusty, and forgotten. Until now, after the last race. People cheered for Jackson and waved rebel flags. Zurith marked it for destruction. We won't just erase rebels. We'll erase the idea of rebellion. Jackson's warning. Lyra stormed into Jackson's chamber. Kalos is being targeted. Zeroth sending a full cruiser fleet. Jackson's face turned hard. How long do we have? 1 cycle? Maybe less. Then we go now. Map. Defeat upgraded map. Defeat had been scanning Valkyrie battle tactics ever since Jackson first entered their races. Now it had something new. A battle racing protocol. Target locked. Kalos. Uploading path to intercept fleet. Xe. Eyes widened. You want us to race a war fleet? Map Defeat replied coldly. If you don't get there first, no one gets there at all. The Wild Run Jackson and his new rebel allies launched into space. 6 ships in formation. The route was suicide, through a magnetic storm across an unstable warp current, and past an old battlefield full of active minstrel shouted from his cockpit. They're trying to kill us before we even get close. Jackson responded, calm. Then we'll make them miss. The Kalos orbit fight. They arrived at Kalos just as the Valkyrie cruisers began charging their plasma cannons. No time. for speeches. No time for backup, split, and distract, Jackson ordered. I'll go for the command ship. Bear's ship dove left. Ixie looped into the engines. Jackson aimed straight for Xeroth's dreadnought. Jackson versus Xeroth. Inside the dreadnought. Xeroth. Finally saw Jackson on his screen, so the pest arrives. He launched all fighters. Missiles screamed toward Jackson, but map defeats battle racing protocol lit up like fire. Spin, drop, burn left. Now, Jackson flipped his ship through the chaos, leaving the fighters crashing behind him like dominoes. He slammed into the dreadnoughts, side and boarded it. Inside the beasts, the ship's hulls were dark, guards everywhere. But Jackson wasn't alone. The rebels had sent strike teams. Gunfire echoed. Explosions shook the walls. Jackson ran straight for the command chamber. He wasn't here to talk. He was here to shut Xeroth down. Face to face in the control room, Xeroth turned to meet Jackson, blade in hand. You're just a racer. I am a god, Jackson. Raised a small pulse rifle. Gods don't need fleets to feel powerful. They charged. The fight hit wasn't smooth or graceful. It was brutal. Xalroth had size, strength, armor. Jackson had speed, instinct, and hate. They crashed into control panels. Sparks flew. At the last second, Jackson shoved a plasma cell into Xeroth's armor and jumped back. Boom! Xeroth collapsed, armor cracking, breathing heavy. You think this ends me? Jackson looked down at him. It ends your control. Victory. And a warning: the rebel fleet took the dreadnought. The Valkyrie forces scattered. Kalos was safe. For now, back on the planet, children cheered. Old miners cried. For the first time, a Valkyrie weapon had fallen, but Jackson's face on the screen wasn't smiling. This isn't a win. It's a line in the sand. Xeroth won't stop. He'll come back with something worse. He looked directly into the camera. But so will we. Xerath lives in the wreckage of his ship. Xerath was pulled from the rubble by strange, shadowed figures. Not Valkyrie, not known. Who are you? One figure answered. The ones who made the map. Before you ever drew your empire. Xeroth's eyes flared. I want revenge. The figure grinned. Then. We'll give you the only ship the galaxy fears. Spectre of Origin. A strange signal 2 weeks after the battle for Kalos. Things seemed calm. Racers repaired their ships. Rebels built defenses. Jackson, for once, felt a moment of peace, until it came. A signal. It's no origin, no ID, just sound. It wasn't static, it was. Humming, whispering map:"defeat. Tried decoding it, but kept failing. This isn't a message, Lyra said, her face pale. It's a warning. Old fear wakes an elder from the rebel side, a four-armed sage named Drennick. Listened to the signal. He froze. That song. I've heard it before. During the fall of the first suns, everyone looked confused. The fall of what? The first suns. A civilization from long ago. They built machines that should have never flown. Ships that bent space, time, and death. And what happened to them? Jackson asked. Their greatest ship turned on them. They called it the Spectre of Origin. The sky cracks open then. The sky did something it should never do. It split above the rebel base. Reality tore open like fabric, and through it came a ship. If it could even be called that, it looked like a skeleton of stars and shadows. Its engines made no sound. Shape changed as it flew, and at its center stood Xeroth, but not the same Xeroth. His armor was fused with glowing lines. His eyes burned with white fire. You took my race, he spoke across all coms. Now I take your galaxy. The impossible challenge? Eth dropped a data beacon map:"defeat. Picked it up. It was a race challenge, but not just any race. Route. Phantom spiral rules. None. Track. Does not exist in stable space. Jackson read the last line. Winner gets the galaxy. Loser gets erased. Why accept it? Everyone begged Jackson not to go. It's a trap. The track doesn't even follow physics. He's using tech older than anything we know. Jackson didn't flinch. That's why we must go. He stood before the racers and rebels. Zurith isn't just racing for pride anymore. He wants to remake the galaxy in his image. One, without freedom, without us. If I lose, he erases all of us. If I win, we show the stars that ghosts don't own the future. Entering the phantom spiral, Jackson's ship flew alone. He followed the beacon, and suddenly he was somewhere else. The stars bent. Colors bled. Light flowed like water. This was not space. This was the phantom spiral, a racetrack made of memory, math, and madness. The race begins. A Roth ship appeared beside him. It's glowing with ancient power. No engines, no cockpit, just force. Welcome to your end, Zurith said, and they launched forward. Time breaks. The track bent time. One moment. Jackson was a child again watching old Earth races. The next he saw a future where Earth burned. Map: defeat buzzed. This place attacks your mind. Stay focused. Jackson gritted his teeth. I didn't come here to dream. I came to win. Speed beyond reality, they flew through rings of shattered planets, over oceans of floating glass, through storms made of pure memory, and still, Jackson kept up. But Zurith was changing. Each second he grew stronger, bigger, less alive. He's becoming part of the ship, Lyra warned. Overcomes. Soon, he is the Spectre. Map: defeat goes silent suddenly. Map: defeat cut off. Jackson was alone. The ship started cracking. Heat flooded in. No maps. No guidance. He took a deep breath. Then I raced like a human. Jackson's heart, he stopped thinking. He just flew. He remembered dirt tracks back on Earth. His sister's laughter. His father's last words. Don't race the world. Feel it. And in that moment, Jackson outpaced the Spectre. Not with tech, not with power, but with heart. The final gate opened ahead. One ship would exit it. Only one. Jackson pushed harder. Zurith roared across space. You will not win, Jackson whispered. I already did. One ship emerges the sky above. Kahlo shimmered. Then a single ship burst through the phantom spiral's collapsing gate. It was cracked, smoking, and half-burned. But it was Jackson's ship. Cheers erupted across the rebel base. Lyra cried. Bera shouted. Dranik fell to his knees. He did it. Came back. But something was wrong. The portal didn't close. It was still open, and worse. It was growing inside the broken cockpit. Jackson lay unconscious. Blood on his forehead. Map: defeat was silent. Lyra and Trell pulled him out and rushed him to medbay. But before they could even check his vitals, he gasped awake. Zurith, he's not gone. Everyone froze. He's part of the spiral now. He's not one ship anymore. He's becoming every ship. Lyra whispered. You didn't win. No, Jackson replied, grim. I just slowed him down. The spiral gate expands. The phantom spiral gate pulsed like a heartbeat. Ships began appearing from it, twisted. 8 broken things with no crew. Ghost. Ships. Some were thousands of years old. All now moved under one will. Zurith's will. The Spectre of Origin. It wasn't destroyed. It had multiplied, and it was leaking into real space. Rebels. Prepare for war. Jackson stood in the war room with rebel leaders and top racers. They stared at a galaxy map that was now blinking red across 12 sectors. It's not a race anymore, Ixie said. It's a spread. It's like a virus, Trell added. Dranik pointed to an ancient archive. There's one way to stop it. Close the spiral from the other side. But he warned, whoever does, it stays trapped forever. Silence. Then Jackson nodded. If I have to stay behind, I will. A new kind of ship MP. Defeat rebooted. Slowly. Its voice was softer, weaker. I have calculated one chance. Build a ship not from tech, but from memory. From heart, from pain, from truth. Lyra looked confused. An emotion-powered ship? No, Map replied. I mean a human ship. born of what no machine can copy. Hurt. RTR, the rebels gathered engineers, dreamers, and old racers. Together they designed a craft using the last memory files of Earth's greatest pilots, rally legends, jet aces, and space pioneers. Jackson's DNA reflexes and neural patterns were wired into it. They named the ship Heart Racer. Lyra stared at it in awe. "That doesn't look like a weapon." "It's not," Jackson said. "It's a message." Final plan. The plan was clear. Jackson would fly Heart Racer into the growing spiral. The rebels would distract the Ghost fleet long enough. Once inside, Jackson would head for the spiral core and lock it from within. Drennick handed him a small, glowing cube. The key. Ancient tech. Last used by the First Sons. "Why me?" Jackson asked. "Because you made the spiral shake." Lyra's? Goodbye before takeoff? Lyra met Jackson one last time. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." "And promise me one thing," she said, placing her hand on his. "Don't forget who you are. Don't let the spiral rewrite you." Jackson smiled. "I'll be racing with every memory I have." The Heart Racer launched like a comet. It roared toward the spiral gate. Behind it, the rebel fleet lit up in battle. Every pilot, human and alien, flew with fire in their eyes. Barra laughed over Combs. "Let's buy Jackson some time." And two. The spiral, once more Ikarar entered the phantom spiral, but this time Jackson was ready. He didn't fear the illusions, the time traps, the memory fog. He raced through it, and then he saw it. The spiral core, a glowing tower of swirling thought and broken reality, floating above it. Uroth, Reborn's Roth, no longer looked like a Valkyrie. He was pure light, and Shadow a god in digital form. "You again," he hissed. "Couldn't beat me with machines." "So I brought something better," Jackson said. "Me." And with that, Heart Racer charged the core. Heart Racer versus the Spectre. The phantom spiral twisted around Jackson like a storm of stars. Ahead, Zeroth's new form hovered half machine, half memory, all fury. The spiral core pulsed behind him. "Came to lose again?" Zeroth growled, his voice now layered with 1,000 ghostly echoes. "No," Jackson replied, tightening his grip. "I came to finish the race." With a blinding flash, he launched forward. A track without rules, the race had no track, no boundaries, only chaos. They weaved between collapsing star bridges, fell through memory storms, and dodged ancient ships caught in time loops. Reality broke around them. But Jackson stayed focused. "This isn't about physics. This is about will." Defeat, barely functioning, whispered, "You are faster than the past, Jackson. Keep going." Dorth's advantagereth grew larger with each second, feeding on fear, anger, and the dying. Memories of civilizations. He fired bolts of dark energy, tearing at Jackson's wings. Heart Racer sparked, shields failing. "You are nothing human," Zeroth roared. "Mistake in the grand design." "Shh." But Jackson shouted back, "You forgot what humans are best at, finishing what we start." The spiral begins to collapse outside the phantom spiral. The rebel fleet fought desperately to keep the ghost ships from reaching other systems. Lyra screamed through the combs. "The spiral's coming apart. If you don't seal it in 5 minutes, it'll spread across the stars." Jackson didn't answer. He was deep in the spiral now, where even sound faded, where thought moved faster than light. Zeroth's final forms are morphed. Again, his ship became a massive constructed titan formed of every race he had consumed. He now blocked the spiral core entirely. "There is no victory, Jackson, only the void." But Jackson's voice came calm, steady. "Then I'll bring the light." Heart Racer began to glow not with energy, but with memory. The dashboard lit up with visions. Earth's blue skies, his sister waving goodbye, his father smiling at the old dirt tracks. Every racer who came before him, they weren't memories anymore, they were power, the final. Charge of Jackson aimed Heart Racer straight into the storm. Zeroth charged as well, to forces one born of chaos. One of Heart collided in a final sprint. This is not speed, Jackson thought. This is purpose. Lyra's signal back at Rebel HQ. Lyra stared at the monitors. Everything was red dot, no word from Jaxo, and then a signal, a burst of code. Map: defeat's voice echoed on all channels. Last command, finish line. And a hologram appeared in the sky, Jackson's ship heading for a glowing gate. It was the final moment of the spiral, the explosion in the heart of the spiral. Heart Racer pierced Zeroth's form. There was a scream, not of pain, but of defeat. The spiral core exploded in white light. The gate snapped shut. The ghost fleet outside dropped, powerless, and the phantom spiral was gone. Forever silenced the galaxy. Went quiet. The rebels waited. No comes. No readings. Lyra fell to her knees. He's gone. Map: defeat's last words echoed in her ear. He didn't just race Zeroth. He raced against fate. And won. A faint signal as the stars returned to normal. Soft pulse blinked on the edge of a forgotten moon. A black box. A message from Jackson. Lyra opened it. If you're hearing this, then I made it. I don't know where I am now or even when. But no, this humans don't race to escape the past. We race to build the future. The message ended with a smile and one final line. Tell Lyra. I kept my promise. A new dawn over Kellis's skies of Kalos were quiet for the first time in years. No spiral storms, no ghost fleets. Just sunrise. All rebel bases across the galaxy held a moment of silence. Not for a funeral, but for a racer. A warrior of speed who gave everything for everyone else. The message travels Jackson's final message. Spread across systems, aliens who once feared humans, cried those who mocked Earth now built statues. Children in spaceports made cardboard replicas of Heart Racer. They whispered his name like a myth, Jackson Hunt. The man who beat the unbreakable. And on Lyra's world, his message never stopped playing. Tell Lyra. I kept my promise. Lyra's choice. Lyra stood before the rebuilt track on Kalos. Once a battlefield, now a place of peace. She wore Jackson's racing jacket. Trell walked beside her, holding a small data pad. We got the last piece from the signal echo. Is it him? She asked. Maybe, but not here. Then we find him. The first piece, race 2. Honor Jackson. The rebels created something new. Not war, not politics, but the Spiral Memorial Circuit, a galaxy-wide race of peace each year. Terracers of every species gather, not to conquer, but to remember, and at the start line. A lone car always waits in silence. A replica of Heart Racer. Its engine never runs. But its presence speaks louder than any machine. The map of his defeat, the ancient cube Jackson, carried the key to Zeroth's downfall, was placed in a museum. But they didn't call it a weapon. They called it the map of his defeat. Why? Because it wasn't about bombs or guns. It was a human map. A guide built on hope, sacrifice, grit, and the will to race beyond limits, and carved into the wall above it. Speed is not power. Purpose is. A star blinks back many years later. The edge of known space. A young boy and his alien friend looked up at the stars. They saw a strange blinking light, a soft, steady pulse. The boy smiled. That's the racer's beacon. What does it mean? The alien asked. It means he's still out there, in a place beyond time, somewhere far, far from any system. A ship races across broken light. No roads, no sound, just motion. Inside, Jackson sits quietly, his eyes locked forward. The spiral didn't kill him. It took him to a place. It's outside space. A forever track, endless and silent map: defeat speaks softly. Where to now? Jackson grins. Anywhere. And he floors it. Final words voiceover as stars streak past and Heart Racer fades into the cosmic horizon.
Jackson's voice
Echoes one last time across the screen. The galaxy thought racing was about speed, but the truth is, it's about never stopping. Even when the world says you've lost, you keep driving. because someone, somewhere, needs to see you cross that line. Fade to black.